Again, my name is Gabe Zolna. I've made mention of this previously as to why I make these videos, and I want to share what I experienced this morning, and you might consider doing the same to see what kind of responses you receive. I met someone at the gym that I started to work out with, and we started to chat, and after about 10 or 15 minutes, I said, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but based on your accent, I would assume that you're a Democrat. Is that correct? And he sort of smiled and he said, yeah, he is, in fact, a Democrat. And I said, well, then, if you're a Democrat, I assume you voted for the present occupier of the Oval Office. And he said he, in fact, did. And then I said, maybe at a later date we can get together and have a beer, because I'd really like to try to understand how your mind works, being a Democrat. And he sort of chuckled. And I said, would you mind if I asked a couple of questions? I just love asking questions. And you've heard me say this before, where I asked, are you aware of which party started the KKK? And he looked at me somewhat surprised, and he said he didn't know. And I said, well, do you know who initiated and was responsible in implementing the Jim Crow laws? And again, he said that he didn't know, but he was familiar, obviously, with the KKK, and he did know what the Jim Crow laws were. And I said, well, would it surprise you if I told you that both of those were the responsibility of the Democratic Party? And he said he didn't know, but he found that to be interesting. And then I said, do you have any idea how many African Americans would be supportive if they knew what I just made him aware of? And he said, I don't think too many. And I said, you're absolutely correct. And I said, here's something else that you also might want to contemplate. And I asked him if he knew who was responsible for the majority of Africans being sold into slavery. And again, he said he really wasn't. And I said, well, it was Muslim Arabs. And I said, how many Africans do you think would vote for the same guy you voted for if they knew that the guy in the Oval Office, his heritage, was responsible for putting him into slavery? What Obama likes to do, he likes to pretend he's African American when that's what he wants to try to pretend. And then you can tell by his actions how he's always supporting the Muslims. He always supports the Muslims, because that's what he himself is. But I don't want to divert here. What you might want to do, if you have any friends that are Democrats, I don't, but if you have any that are friends that are Democrats, ask them those three questions. And I suspect that the majority will answer the same way this individual did, where he was sort of unaware. And then look for the kind of reaction that you might see on their faces when you enlighten them as to who was responsible for trading in slaves and who was responsible for putting together the Jim Crow laws and who was responsible for organizing the KKK. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? If the Republican Party would get their act together and enlighten the African Americans as to what I've outlined in this video, can't hurt them getting more votes, could it? Interesting, isn't it? Let me know what you find if you go ahead and do as I suggested you might want to try to do. I told you what I think. Let me know what they think.